Fargo. Dude, how can I forget that guy? How many of these have I
How did-
seen? One,
You've
two,
probably
three,
you've probably
four.
seen them all.
I have actually not seen them all. Oh wait,
It's
sorry. This
Raising
is producer
Arizona.
credits. Stand by.
No,
So
no, no. I mean,
Macbeth, Caesar, Lewin, True Grit. No, I haven't. Some of these I know about, but I didn't actually go and watch. Like
Hudsucker,
I
Simple
didn't.
Man.
Like Raising Arizona, I've seen. Fargo, Lebowski, Oh Brother. Lady Killers, I've seen bits of. That just didn't do it for me. You know, but
Yeah,
No Country, No Country, True Grit, Llewyn Davis, Hail Caesar, Buster Scruggs. So yeah, so I've seen a little bit of this guy. All right, so
the only thing that's unusual about this is he usually directs with his brother.
And that's what I thought. I was like, wait, don't they come as a set?
Yeah, usually. so that's where this one is a little different.
All right. So this is the tragedy of Macbeth with Denzel Washington and Frances McDormand, and a cast of really solid actors. Yeah. So based on the Shakespearean play, The Tragedy of Macbeth, or the Scottish play, if you're a traditionalist.
Who believes in curses.
And if you believe in curses. Yeah, so Denzel Washington plays Lord Macbeth. Frances McDormand plays Lady Macbeth. And it is the story of, man, I love it. I love it because it doesn't so much play to my Shakespearean back as my Greek back, which is self-fulfilling prophecies.
Yeah.
I love self-fulfilling prophecies. The Greeks loved them as well. And that prophecy is that Macbeth will become king. And he's not in line to be king.
Well, yeah, he'll become king, but then they throw in the, and your buddy here, his kids are going to be kings.
His kids are going to be kings, yes.
So
and it's like,
it becomes okay. So wait a minute. I like about half that sentence,
right?
And actually, both, that's kind of the thing is both of them kind of only, so you're going to get to be king. I never get to be king, but my kids get to be king. So what the hell happens between now and then?
And then we find out.
Yes. And
go ahead.
This is they have. I mean, to do the full Shakespearean text, this is like a 2.5 hour play typically, and this one has been whittled down to, I believe it's a
brisk 105 minutes.
Yes, I was going to say, which and it's down to its pure essentials, and in this case they've done such a good job of really nailing what was important that I love this adaptation. I wouldn't mind seeing the entire play as well, but I think this adaptation is spot on in getting the core of everything.
Yeah. So let's talk about that for a second. Let's go back to this guy we were talking about earlier, Joel Coen.
This Coen brother.
One half of the Coen brothers.
Yes.
He adapted it from the play and he directed it. A24, God love him. Been doing us mostly right this year. Another black and white film from A24.
Yes, well, but I think that we can get into stylistics.
And we're gonna.
Yeah. Well, you kind of have to, but
yeah. So it's black and white, but it's not like it's not like Come On was a black and white film. This is almost like Sin City black and white.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's very stark black and white.
And I would argue that this film needed to be black and white, but we'll get into that too.
Well, yeah, because all decisions are made on like a binary basis. Nobody has any gray area in this story. Everyone, they're given a choice, or often false choices, and they choose one or the other. And so it is kind of symbolic, and the sets are also very minimalist.
Sure, this is like not exactly German impressionistic, but I mean, they're very stark. They're very angular. They're very, they're lit in very dramatic ways.
Yeah, I said they're almost impressionistic. It's like you get the
Well,
impression of a
yes.
castle wall. You get the impression
Yes.
of this, and it totally works.
Yeah, well, and that's the thing, and people think, well, does it look cheap? No, it
No,
doesn't
no,
look
it does
cheap.
not.
It looks like, oh, this is what this is supposed to look like. And that's really not easy to do. And somehow it feels caught between cinema and theater.
I was going to say, it almost feels like the filming of like you're watching a stage play that can go outside.
But then you also kind of look at the lighting and you look at the sets and you look at the things they're doing and think, but you really couldn't effectively pull that off in the way that they do live.
Right. I mean, it is a really weird balancing act.
You could do aspects of it,
mm-hmm.
but I don't think you could design a set that can do all the things that it would need to do to replicate what this film does.
Right.
So it's there's a minimalism to it, but not to the point where it's not cinematic. It's still very much a movie experience. And again, that's not going to be that easy to do. I mean, there's although I think what makes the film remarkable is it seems like it's kind of easy to do.
Well, it's a straight performance.
Yeah, it feels, I don't want to say effortless, but it has this sort of, everyone is right on.
Mm-hmm.
Denzel's great, Frances McDormand's great. It just feels like they made every right decision along the way.
Yep.
And almost to the point where, again, that they've made it look easy. Like, oh, we're just going to do Macbeth. Macbeth is, here's Macbeth, and no sweat. We've done it. It's just there's just like this beautiful effortlessness to it. And it's not because no one's making an effort. It's just
right.
They just nailed it.
Well, but look who's driving the bus here is Denzel and Frances.
Yeah, well, no, absolutely. And they're and as far as casting goes, that's actually a little unusual. Typically, they would put younger, sexier sort of people in those roles, but this casting is really probably more spot on than initially I thought it was. When you think of kind of where they would have been in, the age that to be age appropriate to be doing what they're doing, really they probably should be older rather than younger.
Well, and that's what I was thinking, and it also explains why their children will not be kings because they're old. So they don't have kids. But yeah, I mean, Macbeth has served long and honorably, and then is given certain things and then told he's going to get something else, but he's not given it in the way that he thinks he's going to be given it.
Yeah.
And so that lifetime of service kind of hits his pride and this prophecy. And so, a younger man, it would all be vanity, I think.
Well, and
whereas this more is kind of,
maybe I think there
pride.
is sure, yeah, I think there is a sense of, well, yes, why shouldn't I be king, or but yeah, I mean his accomplishments are what they are, but I don't know that it's almost as if the prophecy makes him want to be king.
Right. Yeah, because the whole lead up to the prophecy is just him doing his job and getting ready to go back home and blah blah blah. And then, but again that appeals more to the Greek mythology in me than it does the Shakespeare in me, because the Greek the Greek myths and Greek plays are always, there's this prophecy and people either try to enact it or try to avoid it. And he's definitely try to enact it.
Yeah, and I think also, part of the tale is he's also pushed by Lady Macbeth. It's almost as if they both, they really they would love to be royalty, but they never really thought about it because, they weren't in the right position to be, or, there was whatever roadblocks or whatever. So they never considered it. And then suddenly this idea is given to them. And it's merely the fact that this idea is given to them that really, makes things happen.
Yeah.
And I enjoy that because sometimes with these films or plays and things, when, the prophecies, it's almost as if they have no choice. This thing is going to happen.
Right.
But one thing I've always liked about this, and again, you're right, it's kind of fairly Greek. They are the ones who make things happen. They are if they don't do certain things, does he get to be king? Or is it because they have given him the idea, and that's, it stems from that, and that's why I like Macbeth. It's almost as if they've never, they've been good people their whole lives, but when they're given the moment to be powerful, they kind of are willing to give in to their ambitions, I guess. I don't know. You could argue that maybe they weren't great their whole lives, but anyway. But just the whole idea that that it's that self-fulfilling aspect of it. Because they do have. It's not as if they don't have any say. They have all the say.
Yep.
It's because of them. It's because of what they do with what knowledge is given them that these things happen.
Yep. And that is the interesting thing. I did like the imagery, though, real quick, of I wrote ruinous crossroads. Because there's a lot of action at this certain crossroad. One of the few exterior scenes is there's a couple of scenes at the crossroad, and it's always bad. And there's certain. I mean, now that it's been a little, we saw this a couple of weeks ago, or it feels like, or at least a million films ago. But there's like little aspects of it that they did that I found myself going, okay, so how are they going to make because part of the prophecy is that the forest will move, right? And so there's that part of me knowing a lot of the text. It's a play that I've seen numerous times in movies and in stage and whatnot. So there's that part of me that's going, okay, so how are they going to do this? How are they going to do this? And every time they nailed it, or they did it in a thing. It was like, well, yeah, of course they did it that way. How else would you do it? I mean, again, it's in this weird place that's I wouldn't say realism, because it's not, but it's also not, far. But it's not surrealism.
No. It's just this really interesting space that they've found and it exists in, and it is one of my favorite films, without question, of the year, just because it spoke to a lot of the things that I love. Shakespeare was kind of one of the first things that I got into, when it came to plays and things. And I mean, in a way, Shakespeare and Star Wars were kind of these two things that got into my life early on. And usually those two worlds only sort of, exist. But, and the film world and the theater world, there usually is a greater divide than there is in this one. I don't know. I just really had, I think it's a great adaptation, and I would recommend it to Shakespeare fans, people who don't know if they're Shakespeare fans. Again, it's edited to the point where it's very, very slim and moves very quickly.
But to be clear, it's not updated. All of the language is the language.
No.
It's still Shakespeare.
It is. It's still very. It's a faithful edit. It's
Right.
they just it's the meat and potatoes of the story.
Yeah, it's the Reader's Digest condensed version, but
Yeah,
the language is all the same.
yeah.
And that, like I said, that might be people's biggest sticking point, but I hope
But
that they don't let that dissuade them.
and it shouldn't. I mean, in a lot of ways, yes, they're speaking flowery language or whatever,
Right.
and whatnot. But the performances make those fairly accessible, I think, as well. I mean, I think having familiar faces helps.
Yeah, it does. And so let's be clear. It's one of my favorite films as well of the year. I have no trouble saying that these two lead performances are going to be in the probable to likely nomination categories across various awards.
I'll tell you right now, I think the Frances McDormand's performance in this is better than in No Man Land, which she won an Academy Award for. So I mean, take what you will from that, but I and Denzel also, sometimes we forget how good of an actor Denzel is.
Mm-hmm.
He does an action film where it doesn't really make him, necessarily use everything he's got.
Yeah, you forget that he's classically trained.
Yeah, and then you see something like this, and there's some moments where you go, "Oh man,
right?
I forgot he was like, there's a couple moments where you're taken back, and you're like, I forgot that he could do that."
Yep.
And he's
very good. They're both very good.
Yeah.
It's two masters chewing
the
scenery in a good way.
Yes. Well, what little scenery there is.
Right. Yeah. There you go. That's why it's so minimalist. They've eaten it all.
Yes. They ate the extra stuff.
Yeah.
But no, and maybe that's the best way. This is it. They have just trimmed it down in every way to its core, and they haven't really lost. They've lost a little bit of coloring things in here and there, and then there's some scenes maybe that but I was gonna say there's scenes that I miss, but I don't know that I do, because the way that this moves and just everything about it just works. So
yeah, it just works really well. So yeah, if you're a Shakespeare fan, you'll appreciate this adaptation. If you're a fan of these two actors, you will probably enjoy this.
I think so. Yeah.
Don't let the language
but I really do think, though, even if you think, well, I don't know, I don't really think I'm a Shakespeare type person or whatever, I think this is a really good film to test that.
Yeah.
I think that you might find yourself surprised by, I mean, it's a neat story. It's got witches. It's got, war elements. It has some murder. It has, I mean, it's just it's kind of pulpy, in that regard.
A little bit.
I mean, it does go to the Greek element as well. But I think it's something that even if you don't like Shakespeare, that you should give a shot. Kind of in the same way that Tick, Tick, Boom was
for musicals.
For musicals, even if you don't typically give it a shot. Just give it a shot.
I did, and I liked it, and I think you're right. That's a good comparison. What Tick, Tick, Boom is for musicals, this probably is for Shakespearean type films. I mean, because this is not The Last Duel. This is not The Green Knight.
Well, and I would almost be like, and after you watch this, watch The Seventh Seal, or watch, or go back to some silent films that are used to similar. I mean, there's just this is kind of I don't think I've ever referred to a movie as a gateway drug, but this is kind of a gateway drug movie.
Yeah, it might expand your movie viewing habits a little bit. Maybe not huge, but you might see some stuff that
yeah.
This might be the Henry V of 2021, because when Branagh did Henry V,
Sure,
that woke up a lot of people.
Well, and ironically, I was having a conversation with someone, and that was what put Branagh on the map as well.
Yeah.
Before that, no one really, he was
a stage guy,
and whatever, and doing Shakespeare, and okay, and then he's going to do but his Henry V is kind of the opposite, in that he didn't.
It's
cut
not
anything.
Minimalist, yes.
He didn't cut anything. It's all there,
and some.
And then,
because he tweaked the framing, the chorus. So
yeah, and there's intermission, and anyway, so that's kind of the other end of the Shakespeare spectrum, but also really worth watching. Just will take a little more time.
One of my favorites. So yeah, but no, so is the tragedy of Macbeth. So check this one out. You're going to be hearing that name and Denzel Washington and Frances McDormand a lot over the next 2 months. You're going to be hearing those words over the next couple months. So you might as well watch it. Again, it's going to be on. It's going to be in theaters and on Apple TV. Well, it's going to be in theaters on December 25th. And an Apple TV on January 14th. So I would see it in the theaters.
Yeah, again. I would too.
And I might see it in theaters again. So.
Well, yeah. I mean, I know that I'm gonna make sure that my mother sees it, so I might have to go and see that with her again. But no, I love it.
Yeah, it's really well worth your time. So that is it for the tragedy of Macbeth. Again, we have got just loads more movies we've already watched we need to talk about. We have 2 more huge movies that we still need to watch before Christmas and talk about, which we will. So stay tuned for those. Until we get back to those, stay safe, be good, enjoy your holiday season. Don't get upset with your delivery people, because they're working really hard right now, delivering all of your packages.
They're trying.
They're doing their best.
Most of them.
Yeah, some of them aren't, but most of them are trying.
Yeah, really there's the occasional guy who drives out and throws your stuff in the ravine. But let's not,
Yeah, let's not dwell on that idiot.
Let's not let him ruin the entire.
Right. Let's not ruin our Christmas with that. So, but until we get back to you with those, I'm Mark. That's Ryan. Bye, Ryan.
See you guys.
And we will talk to you all later. Bye-bye.